Hey guys, welcome to the ND podcast. You know what the ND stands for, so I don't have to explain it. So, we're going to be talking about a video game that came out a few months ago that everyone is loving to death. And that is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I have heard so many good things about this game, and I have watched people like the Game Grumps play it, and I can say this, that Breath of the Wild is a fantastic game. It is very good. But the question that not a whole lot of people are asking is what made Breath of the Wild so loved? What made people just love Breath of the Wild? What made that game so good? Well, there are a lot of answers to that. There are so many answers to that. But I think it mainly has to do with Nintendo and how they make their games. You see, Nintendo, they are good at making stories for their games. They have been doing that ever since they touched the 3D platformer. And, they've been making good Mario games and they've been making a lot of good stuff as of late. Now, that's not to say that they haven't had their bad hits every once in a while, but for the most part, every game they've made has either been a hit or a home run. And Breath of the Wild is pretty much considered an out-of-the-park home run. And it's because Nintendo crafted such a good story for Breath of the Wild. And the weird thing is that it's a good story, but there's very little dialogue in the game. Like, there is a lot of dialogue, which is cool in its own right, because you got people who are actually talking, because in other games, like Ocarina of Time, or Wind Waker, or heck, even every other Zelda game before this one never had any actual talking in it. They had like subtitles or sub-scrolls or whatever they're called. You could read what they were saying. You can interpret what they were saying. But this game actually has voice acting in it. And there's not a whole lot of it, but there is definitely some, to say the least. And to think that there is actually a very well-told story in this game with little amount of dialogue that this game has to offer is absolutely insane. But what is it about the story that makes this game great? The story itself is very intriguing in a way, because it feels like a different kind of story for Zelda, for The Legend of Zelda, because, every Zelda game before this one had, it had a good story to it, but, it was traditional, pretty much. Link has to go on this adventure, and he has to go find all these gems, and he has to bring them back to Hyrule, or, he has to unlock the secret of the Triforce, or he has to find the Master Sword. It's generic, for the most part, but the story for Breath of the Wild is so much different. It relies more on Zelda than it does actually Link, because the game focuses on the backstory. It focuses on you figuring out the backstory of what happened to Hyrule. And essentially what the backstory is that Ganon took over, I think it said like 1,000 years ago or 100 years ago or something like that. And he took over, and he basically left Hyrule in ruins. and it killed Princess Zelda, and she comes back as a ghost, I believe. Or she's a spirit. I don't know. She's alive by the end of the game. Spoilers, by the way. And I know my cousin might listen to this, Toxic Venom. He's playing Breath of the Wild on his Nintendo Switch right now. And he doesn't want there to be any spoilers because he's very interested in this game at the moment. So he's probably not going to be all that happy. So that's why I'm going to put a warning. I'm going to put spoiler warning in this title. But anyway. But yeah, like learning about what happened to Hyrule through just gameplay and other extra characters is what makes this game so interesting. It's what makes the game playable. It's what makes you want to just get back on your Nintendo Switch and keep playing because you want to see what happens next. And that's what a game should do. A good game should keep you wanting to come back for more, to see what's going to happen next. Where's the story going to go? What turns are the characters going to go? What's going to happen? That's what a good game should do. And that is exactly what Breath of the Wild does. Now, what are the other things that make this game fantastic? Again, like I said in the beginning, there are many things that make this game great. From the paying attention to detail of just the small little things. Like the realism of this game. When you fall into cold, icy water, you die. When you fall in lava, you don't just take damage and then stand up on the lava just in the nick of time to survive. No, when you fall in the lava, you die. Like, you eviscerate. You sink into that mother and you die. And you also take fall damage, which is... Well, then again, you always did that in Zelda games, but this one just feels like the most realistic style of it. But yeah, that's one thing that makes it good. The others, from colors and all that, I could go on about the colors all day, but the colors are not what make this game great. It's the stylization of the game itself that makes it it makes you want to look at it. It makes itself presentable to the audience. And that is something else that a good game should do. If it's going to keep you coming back for more, it's going to want you to make sure that it looks as good as possible. And it does that very well, considering the fact on how just huge the landscapes are. The landscapes are humongous. It's got mountains, it's got rivers, it's got oceans, it's got mountains. I just said mountains, but you know, it's little stuff like that. It's stuff like that that makes the game not only feel huge, but it gives it a huge atmosphere. So it makes you feel like you're there in a way. Like, you feel like you are Link. In a way. Kinda. So, yeah. Now, gaming experts said that Ocarina of Time was such a great game because it told a story of childhood turning into adulthood through visually playing throughout the adventure. Because throughout the adventure, you're growing into the grown-up version of Link. And I watched people play Ocarina of Time, and it's true. You go from being a little boy to an adult. And that is something that is very cool and very good detail by Nintendo. Now, what about Breath of the Wild? Because you're basically adult Link throughout the entire thing. What makes Link in this story interesting? Well, the interesting thing about Link in this game is that he has no idea what's going on. He's just like the player who's playing the game. He has no idea what's going on. He's like us, but we're visually playing as him. So, yeah, he has no idea what's going on. He doesn't remember anything that happened 1,000 years ago when Zelda was around. And it makes for more interesting gameplay since it adds a mysterious tension to it while also a sense of fun. And that is something that is very, very impressive to do with someone who doesn't even talk. This is a character who just goes, hey, like he just makes noises. But yet he acts as our guide, in a way. And, again, like I said, that's very, very impressive. And this game, I'm glad it exists. Because it gives people a sense of joy and a sense of hope and a sense of adventure. And so, I'm glad people are enjoying it. But that is why I believe that Breath of the Wild is great. Because of everything I just said. That's why it's so good. Anyways, thanks for listening in. And if you have played Breath of the Wild, let me know what you think of that game in the comment section below. And let me know what you think makes it good in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next one.